Hello and welcome to the Smarties studio. Smarties is Marketing and Media Alliance Global Awards program, recognizing the world's most impactful and innovating marketing campaigns. Each year, Smarties celebrates the brands, the agencies, and the marketing teams, setting new benchmarks for marketing excellence and measurable business impact. Smarties Studio is a content hub that brings the Smarties Awards to life beyond the stage. It is where the stories behind the wins get told, giving the marketing community a deeper look at the work. It's a global perspective on winning campaigns from the leaders themselves, driven by peer level conversations with unfiltered insights. With that, let me welcome the two esteemed guests, Kayan and Muller, on the campaign podcast, which was held in Turkey by the Sabancı University.
Sakıp Sabancı'yı özlediniz mi? Eğer özlediyseniz Sakıp Sabancı bir röportaj yaptı efendim.
Ama şimdi size söylüyorum. Üstüne basa basa dikkatinize sunuyorum ki biz Türk toplumu rüyayı gerçekleştirdik.
We asked ourselves, how can we not just remember Sakıp Sabancı, but make him talk to us again? We moved beyond basic data aggregation, implementing an advanced NLP techniques to parse and structure thousands of pages of text and extensive hours of audio. Using these curated datasets, we trained the Sabancı Neural Voice Model, an advanced AI system powered by deep learning algorithms. With AI, he crafted a model that doesn't just talk like him, thinks like him, capturing the essence of his wisdom and spirit.
Ben bugün seninle bir arada olduğum için çok heyecanlıyım. Elim ayağım titriyor diyebilirim.
Ama şimdi kripto paralar, merkeziyetsiz finans ve fintech şirketleri yükseliyor.
Bu çok önemli bir soru.
Sorularınız beni yeniden düşünmeye şevk etti.
And that we can do anything we want with other species, other life forms. Certainly that idea needs to be reevaluated.
So, before we get into the first few questions on the business end, let me ask each of you, what drew you to marketing in the first place? Why choose it as a profession?
Yeah, I think for me it is going really back to the start of my to high school, because I was a pro gamer and I was trying to compete on the highest level on the world, and I was on the team Turkey, and I needed to had sponsors to support my cause in gaming, in pro gaming. I was playing Warcraft 3, and that's where I met with brands. I started doing presentations to them so that they can sponsor us. And that's how I got into working with brands. In general, I love solving problems, and in my perspective, the creative works is always about solving problems. It's really fun work.
And we are glad that you chose this profession because we have something great coming out of it.
Yeah.
Very similar, because creativity is something I value a lot in life, and also communication. And I loved my marketing professor back in my college, in the university. So that kind of inspired me. But having a lot to do with creativity, visuals, and, starting something from zero and seeing the impact on people, what you create, that kind of drove me to marketing. And I love doing what I do, basically.
Great. So, was there a particular campaign or work that you saw that inspired you to do more and more of what we do today?
Yeah, about Sabancı, because it was the 20th year of his passing, Sakıp Sabancı, who is the honorary president of the university, who founded the university. We were looking for a creative way to remember his legacy, his values. And we wanted to, in a way, that was the phrase, bring him back to life. If he was with us, what would he say, these days? Like, if we had a problem, what would his recommendation be on that problem? So that kind of started from there. And with Kayhan and his team came the boat idea.
Just because of he's a businessman, but the way he talks, the way he smiles, the way he inspires people. He was more than a celebrity. He was more than a businessman, but he was influenced Turkey a lot in many aspects of life.
He was a great businessman, very successful, but that is not the only thing which made him very popular and a man of people's hearts, because he was a great philanthropist. He was actually, we can say, had the idea for the first time about sustainability to keep up everything he started and made sure that it continued.
And so, was it also the core insight of the philanthropy, sustainability, etc.? Was that the core insight that helped you build this campaign? What drove you to build a campaign around it? What was the insight?
It was, I think, sustainability was a big part of it because we really wanted his values to be known by the youth. Because here, since all the companies he built, most of them are still on live and helping and, adding to people's lives still, and the university as well. But also his ideas, his personality, we thought should live. And since we have the technology, why not, join creative idea and make it a campaign and make it possible.
Kayhan, I wonder at what point of this discussion, when you guys were thinking about bringing him back to life, was it a change from a memorial initiative to an AI powered conversation platform? How did that happen?
Yeah, when Mutlu and her team reached us about creating technological and good stuff on his commemorative day, we thought now that technology enables us to bring his ideas back in the 20th years after he passed away. I think we got the idea immediately. We started trying it with public data that we have about Sakıp Sabancı, and we've seen that in an LLM form, in a text form, it really answers like it started really answering like him. When we pour more data on it, it started more and more looks like Sakıp Sabancı, and we made it to his commemorative day, and he talked with his granddaughter Melisa Sabancı Tapan on the live show. And at that point, we as the creative team, we got the idea we need to have this, we need to move this a bit step forward and create this, conversational AI platform like yourself. And we decided to do a podcast. We said we have the text model, LLM, we have the voice model. Why not create a podcast and ask Sakıp Sabancı, who would you like to, have as a guest in the podcast? And he gave us some names. And from those names, we had, 4 guests. Actually, it was really interesting to, have a podcast, but one person is, sitting on this side of a podcast and the other is a bot,
How did you manage the ethical considerations around the representation of this guest? Was there a specific guide or tool or a framework that you gave the podcast? This is really important. And I believe it's important because a lot of the marketeers are going to use a lot more AI in days to come. Now, and that is very key for them to understand what are the broad responsible AI frameworks or guardrails that you should use. Would you like to share some insights on that?
Because this is about a person and reviving his thoughts and legacy, and this person is one of the most powerful people that ever lived in the country. It was really very, very, very sensitive.
Yeah, there is the legal side, of course, because we had to get opinion about how we should approach this legally. Since even today, the legal grounds for AI is a little bit blurred. When I say blurred, I mean it's not internationally set up as, like business law, etc. There's still a lot going on and a lot need to be done. So we did consult the legal team in the university, and we also consulted the family, the granddaughter, the daughter, and everybody, and also his colleagues who were still with us, they knew him very well. So we didn't want to do anything which was different than his actual self when he was alive, So we always, whenever we got something as an answer from the bot, we always checked it with the family, with the past management who worked with him, everybody in the his past habitat, let's say. And so with these cross checks, I mean, even when we created remember Kayhan, the voice model, it looked like, comparing with other AI projects, it sounded like him perfect, but there were really nuances, small differences, which we had to make it perfect. So we had to go back to the family and ask every time, is this the right way?
Because he had a very, very, very unique and original accent and way of saying things,
Yeah.
Of course, he was speaking mostly in Turkish, but his Turkish is a little bit different than the average person. He had really his own way.
So what I was saying is the objective of the campaign was to attract the youth, position the university as a more digital savvy university. What were the results that you saw? What kind of engagement? I know there were 10 million people who participated in it. It became a talk of the town. It was covered in a lot of media. But real business impact, what did you see, and what's the ongoing effect of that business?
It was immediately talk of the town, and everybody talked about the project, because in all covers and news and mainstream media made it like the first news that on the 7 p.m. news. You know what I mean? So it was really the talk of town, and the idea was to make it famous and have something with AI and make it nationwide famous. And I think we were successful in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, because it was for the commemoration ceremony, something we prepared for that specific date, we were not thinking about, we were considering, having his legacy, talking to the masses, and, getting the attention of the youth, carrying his values to the next generation. But still, lots of attention, because we just put aside the media coverage and how many people we reached, but there were many questions the granddaughter, Melisa Sabancı Tapan, received from the public regarding AI. Because, we did this on AI and we were one of the first to do it, not just in Turkey, but maybe internationally. Somehow we were a reference point. So people were asking us, I think it had a big impact on the university, the recognition of the university, and, how it's perceived.
Did it help change the dynamics of adoption of AI in the student community? And as a brand legacy for the university, does that actually elevate the university compared to some of the others?
I can say we were kind of a starter or a, debutant,
pioneer.
or, a pioneer. Sorry, the word is the pioneer. Yeah. Maybe we were a pioneer in this. So it helped that to talk to the youth, not in a scientific way, but to the public, because universities, they do a lot. Like us, scientifically, academicians do many things, but when you try to bring it to the public and make public part of the discussion, that's harder.
Mutlu just said that it became non-scientific, very generic. Everybody understood how it is. So how did you manage the technical sophistication with the authenticity to make it so seamless?
What we have done is the data. I think the quick answer is that data has solved the problem. The more amount that we poured into the model started, really started to talk like him, because the idea was have his thoughts in nowadays, because his ideas is so timeless. In our testings, we started asking like, today's world problems, for example, about AI, about, global warming, etc. And has his ideas, and it answered so well. The bot, the model answered so well that at some point we said, yes, it really is okay now. It can go public. We can create stuff about this, and of course guardrails was a big part on this, because you need to really have really good, well thought, effective guardrails, because you need to have the model answer you fast, but at the same time you need the model not to hallucinate and be on the safe side. So there was a bit balance on creating that sophistication, and we try to do the best. We do a lot more testing, and data helped us.
Can I add one thing?
Oh, sure.
I think we were lucky about the data because it took us 11 months to gather the data. And if we are to do a bot, for example, on me, we wouldn't be able to put aside the technology because I don't have that much data available in my life. I do not record myself. But with Sakıp Sabancı, because he had done lots of things and they were recorded in many, many different parts. I mean, many different, like there are lots of different institutions he worked with, and they kept it there in their own archives. So we had to visit many archives with Sakıp Sabancı because he had done lots of things and they were recorded in many, many different parts. I mean, many different, like there are lots of different institutions he worked with, and they kept it there in their own archives. So we had to visit many archives, TV stations, because he had done interviews. His voice was on one radio station and another filming, video bit was in another TV station. So we gathered all of that, contacted many people. That took like 10, 11 months. And he wrote many books. So we got the text, the comments on his books and things like that. So we gathered all of that. That made it possible. I mean, again, his personality played a big role making this possible in a way. We can say that, I think.
It's very interesting. And this is really the reason why we're doing this behind the scenes, right? 11 months of data. It's not easy to do it, but it takes that kind of effort. So if somebody thinks that this was thought through in a meeting and done and delivered after 4 days and then it was done, that's not the case.
No, we
Therefore,
wish it was.
yeah, it's important, and this is behind the scenes that people should understand as they adapt to do more and more of AI, the amount of data that needs to be done, how to go through that, what's the intersection of storytelling versus data, and so on and so forth. And I think it's really important for us to see that, because as we move into the future, it is going to be a foundational stone, if you will, of advertising and marketing. As we move into the future, how do you see the intersection of AI, data, storytelling, and the brand legacy, which is Sabancı in this case, but could be any other brand? How do you see that going forward?
I agree. I think balancing it with human creativity or trying to define the lines between, because I think maybe there will not be any lines, Before we could easily say this is AI made, this is human made. Now it's getting overlapping, and it's harder to really put two things apart. So maybe there won't be that separation, but still what we bring in as humans to whatever we do through AI or with AI will be more important than ever, to make it more creative, genuine, and, touching really the hearts of people, I think. So whatever we do for the humans. So, I'm not sure if this is a clear perspective, but sometimes overusing AI, or like you just said, thinking is just one idea created over one discussion or one meeting, and then here is the product. That's really underestimating it. It's much more than that. So I think it's a joint effort.
Yeah, and as we move forward, because it's going to be fundamental to everything that we do in advertising and marketing, people need to understand the dynamics of what it takes, what's the level of work, utilize AI in a manner that is helpful to the campaign, to the brand, etc. As part of this Smarties Winner Studio that we are doing and building right now, what would if you were the person receiving this and looking at this studio podcast, what are the kind of things that you think people will benefit from? Thank you. Appreciate that.
Sharing the best experience, I think it's very universal. Creativity is universal. Good ideas are universal. I mean, at the beginning of the session, you said it's very cultural. Yeah, true, it's very cultural, but it's at the same time very universal. I mean, if you have a good idea, if you execute it well, and if you put in the effort, it's received by many people and internationally. So I think this discussion is also like that. I think that's how I would have, this is what I would feel. And if I were to listen somebody else's speech, which I will, since this is the first one, I think, right?
Yes,
So
it
from
is.
now on, I will be listening to the other conversations and
Great.
we'll be getting a lot from all of them.
Yeah, it's great to unpack the thinking behind the campaigns like this, which we truly believe can help understand where the innovation is heading, how to do that, and so on and so forth. So, and these are the peer level conversations with unfiltered insights, challenges, opportunities that help share some of the best results and the pain that goes behind it. But that pain is rewarding, and we all look forward to that at the end of the day, because that's where sharp minds really work together to have a real business impact. Thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate you taking this time to share what went behind the scenes in developing one of the best campaigns, the best in-show campaign for last year. And we look forward to seeing a lot more of great work from you guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much
Thank you. Appreciate that
for
time.
having.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.